For as long as I've been making images, I've been fascinated by lenses that let you make the small world big. If you've watched any of my other lens reviews, you probably will have noticed that I make a point to mention their minimum close focus distances. The reason for this is, as you'd expect, I like being able to get my lens close to the subject to see more of their details. So it comes as no surprise that I've been digging the new Tamron 90mm macro f2.8. Though this lens isn't that feature-rich, I can say without a doubt it has become one of my favorite lenses to use. Over the last couple months, I've been using this lens to shoot many of the close-up shots of cameras and lenses that I've been reviewing on this channel, and for some of my personal projects. It just gives you that extra closeness to the product that you couldn't get without it. This 90mm macro is not only great for up-close subjects, it also works great for portraits and objects at medium distances. Here I'm doing more of a high-end commercial style shoot of one of my favorite drinks and some of the other products that I've been practicing lighting with. These are all focus stacked photos, varying from 4 to 8 photos, and I think they turned out pretty well. Of course, there's always something I want to make better, but that's all part of the learning process. You can see in these lens chart shots that edge-to-edge detail is impressive even at f2.8, and there also isn't a ton of bowing on the edges of frame. As you can see here, there's only a bit of it in the corners. So moving on from the images the 90mm produces to what it's like to use. It's not the flashiest looking lens or feature-rich macro lens, but being one of the most competitively priced options on the market, it's very easy to overlook some small losses. To start off, in usual Tamron styling, it's their all-plastic outer shell. In addition, it also doesn't have an autofocus manual focus switch. Using a menu to switch this is kind of annoying when pretty much every other lens I've ever used in my whole life has an autofocus manual focus switch. On the upside, it does have an autofocus limiter switch, which enables faster focusing depending on what your subject's distance is. This feature also helps prevent the lens from searching focus to infinity when you are shooting something up close. And finally, it also has a programmable button next to the focus limiter switch, so that's pretty nice to have that. The last two things I'll mention would be nice to have features that would be, well, nice to have. They are an aperture dial and a focus distance guide. The distance guide, as seen on the Sony 90mm macro, can be helpful when manually focusing or stacking images, or if you're doing something where you need to record distances. But if I'm being completely honest, I think it just is nice to have because it kind of looks cool. Sony really did knock it out of the park with the look of their macro lens. But at the end of the day, the way a lens looks doesn't impact how it produces images, but it is a factor to consider. More features typically equal a higher cost. Aside from the main features, the grip of the lens has a nice texture with fairly deep grooves, and the rotational torque of the focus ring has been carefully calibrated to assist with precise manual focusing. And speaking of focus operation, the minimum focus distance is 9.05 inches and has a max magnification ratio of 1:1. As with all Tamron lenses, the 90mm macro has a front thread of 67mm, so you can standardize your filter set between all their offerings. And just because I had the option to do it, here are some beauty shots in glorious 8K. I've enjoyed using this lens a lot over the last couple months, and it's become one of the lenses that I use pretty much daily. That's just how useful it's become for me. From product photo shoots to close-ups of bugs, the Tamron 90mm f2.8 III VXD delivers. Get it today at Vistek.ca. See you on the next one. Bye.